Felger and Mazz returns tomorrow for an agenda-free Friday. See you, everybody.
See you, bye.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, Celtics, the Patriots, the Bruins, and the Revolution play here. WBZ-FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Off day for your Boston Red Sox after they got throttled in Denver by the Rockies yesterday. Rockies tying a franchise record for runs, beating the Red Sox 20-7. So the Red Sox begin a weekend series, very important weekend series of the Yankees at Fenway Park tomorrow night. And, of course, the news yesterday, now made official, Red Sox manager Alex Cora agreed on a 3-year contract extension worth $21.75 million. Dylan Cease threw a new no-hitter today against the Nationals, second pitcher in Padres history to do so. He did it on 114 pitches. The NBA announced that Warner Brothers and TNT did not match the broadcasting terms of Amazon Prime, so now they've agreed to a long-term arrangement with Amazon. Day 2 of Patriots training camp down at Foxborough today. The most noteworthy thing that happened is that rookie quarterback Joe Milton, the third QB to take reps in the 7-on-7 drills, which meant he was ahead of Bailey Zappi. Patriots return to practice tomorrow. Headlines are brought to you by Yankee Custom. Yankee Custom has everything you need to outfit your truck, van, or SUV. Yankee Custom has the largest retail inventory in New England with locations across New England. YankeeCustomTruck.com. YankeeCustomTruck.com. I'm Jim Murray from Boston's Home for Sports 98.5 Sports Hub. Kevin Majori has you next in a half hour.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app. The 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Now,
You have dog crap in your system.
this is the Baseball Hour with Tony Mazz.
They did nothing this offseason.
Brought to you by Bigelow Tea, Corona, Gravely Zero Turn Lawnmowers, Jackson Lumber, Team Impact, Blue Moon Belgian White, and FindMassMoney.gov.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I love everything that comes with this uniform. I love everything that comes with the Red Sox. Like I said, in 2017, it's the closest thing to back home. Back home for the WBC stubs, for boxing matches, it stops, right? And at Fenway, every day it stops, for the Red Sox and obviously for the rest of the teams that, we follow, right? So I'm not saying, we're going to live 12 months a year in Boston, but just to be around and having the family keep growing there, I think is great, and the professional part of it, like I said, we're going to be fine, but I'm actually looking forward for the family side and see my boys keep growing in the city and enjoying everything that comes with it.
Again, that's Alex Cora yesterday after the pounding at the hands of the Colorado Rockies. 20-7 was the final score. Let's not overlook the result of the game, nor the fact that the Red Sox still haven't done anything as the trading deadline approaches. And again, that doesn't make them different from anybody else in the sport. But it is worth noting, let's keep our eyes on the ball, so to speak. That is still the number one priority, is to help the roster. 617-779-0985 is your number on the Baseball Hour. We will take your calls up until 7 o'clock. I'm flying solo tonight, and I want to follow up on Alex Cora's comments and the Alex Cora story, the contract extension, all of it. Sam Kennedy of the Red Sox made some comments today to Chris Cotillo of Mass Live. We will get to those as well. But here's where I want to start with Cora. And I want to make this part crystal clear. First, I'm glad Alex Cora is remaining the manager of the Red Sox. I think he's a good manager. It doesn't mean he does everything right, but I think he's a good manager. I think they have a manager that can lead them to a championship again, whenever that is. I'm glad the Red Sox paid the money for him. All of those things. I do not dislike Alex Cora. I like him. I like what he stands for the most part. All of those things. However, I was stunned at the news that he had agreed to this contract for an assortment of reasons. First and foremost on the list is the fact that I thought Cora was entirely dissatisfied, frustrated with the direction of the organization. And that comment there, about how his family life was the driving factor, frankly, I don't entirely believe it. I think it's an easy thing to say, and I'm not saying his family is not important to him. But I think that when you are a guy like Alex Cora, you want to manage a team and you want to have a good family life. You want both. Who doesn't want to have a good family and a good job? Why would it have to be one or the other? But he had the prior thing when he was here. He wanted to come to Boston in the first place. He did. He had a championship team. Why can't he have both of those things? He can. So when I look back at the whole thing, I'm sorry. I think the whole thing was some sort of charade or ruse. I don't know the depths of it. And when I say that, I mean, I don't know who was in on it other than Cora. Maybe the team was in on it too. Because if you listen to the Red Sox, and from the day they hired Craig Breslow, the one thing that they were terrified of doing again was forcing a manager onto their chief baseball executive. They did it to Chaim Bloom to the point where, frankly, they chose Alex Cora over Bloom, and in the feud between Bloom and Cora, Cora won. Cora basically stabbed Bloom in the back. And again, I'm dramatizing it, but that's usually how this stuff goes. If I were Chaim Bloom, that's how I'd feel. That Alex Cora sort of threw me under the bus. So then Craig Breslow comes in. The Red Sox make it clear any future or any decision on Alex Cora will be decided by Craig Breslow. So if Breslow had extended Alex Cora last November or December, you tell me, would we have believed that Breslow made that decision based on working with Cora for what? A month? 2 months? And before I get to the next thing, Jimmy, let me ask you this. Jimmy Stewart, our producer. Sean McAdams' story today on Mass Live basically said, the question McAdam asked in his column on Mass Live is, why would the Red Sox sign Cora now? What changed? McAdams sought to answer all the things that many of us have asked from the second this thing became apparent yesterday that Cora had resigned. We all asked it. What changed? McAdam reports that Cora and Breslow, and I'm paraphrasing and summarizing, but he reports that Cora and Breslow had the time to get to know one another. They believe it can work. Breslow went to ownership and said, I think we should keep this guy. Ownership said, okay. And then before you know it, a deal was done. Jimmy, do you believe that?
Not a chance. That's a lie. And I'm not saying that Sean's lying. I'm saying the information that was given to Sean, lie.
Okay, I think the thing was a ruse. I do. I think from the beginning. So here's the part that I can't get past. Alex Cora has been making it clear, and Chris Cotillo wrote this in his story today on Mass Live. I spend a lot of time on Mass Live now. I like the way how they turn everything into a headline. It allows you to sort of catch up on things very quickly. Okay, so Chris Cotillo on Mass Live said that Alex Cora has basically told anyone who would listen, and I've also heard this around the ballpark, whether it was on the record or off. Cora has told anyone who would listen that he was not going to negotiate with the Red Sox. He even went so far as to sort of whisper to some people or suggest that he wasn't coming back. He was gone. He was out of here.
And there was nothing that the Red Sox could say, do, or offer that would keep him in Boston beyond the final out of the World Series.
Okay, so here's my question. Is it possible Alex Cora was in on it from the very, very beginning and ownership told him, look, we want you back, but we want Craig to make that decision. Just play the game. Keep your mouth shut. He'll get there. When he sees what you do, he'll believe what we believe, and we'll all be on the same page. So, again, they have a first-time GM who, with all due respect, in terms of the job, doesn't know his ass from his elbow because he's never done it, struggled through the offseason, wasn't able to close any substantial deal. Frankly, at the end of it, I thought he looked a little frustrated. And all of a sudden, they get to the middle of the season. He approaches Alex Cora. The deal gets done in the blink of an eye. Cora said they were talking for weeks, then sort of chuckled and said maybe months.
I've heard 2 weeks.
Okay, my guess is that Cora had some indication way back when. Alex, sit tight, we'll get to you, we promise. We just have to make this look like Cora's making the call. Breslow is making the call. We have to go through that part of it. Something like that.
Oh, they have Netflix following them around, Tony. There's no doubt in my mind that it's possible that some scriptwriter was like, oh, this would be great, and then we'll show the behind the scenes and we'll make Craig Breslow look like a genius.
Here's a comment from Sam Kennedy today.
But this sucks. I now, who do I trust over there? And the answer is nobody. On the record, off the record, their credibility is shot. More so than it already was.
And Jimmy, I would say this is true of Cora in particular now. Cora, I think, was sort of separate from ownership and management. I've said 100 times that I feel like there has been this power thing or struggle, tug of war going on between the uniform personnel and the non-uniform personnel at Fenway Park for the better part of the last 2 or 3 years. Cora wants help. Team plays well. They get to the deadline. They don't add. Cora gets frustrated. Bogarts gets pissed off. The guys in the clubhouse throw their hands up. What the hell are we doing here? Are we a big market team? Are we not a big market team? What's going on? Ownership says we're not championship caliber. We'll add when we're championship caliber. All of that was going back and forth. There was this tug of war going on. Has been. How has that changed? How has the direction of the franchise changed?
It hasn't.
So I look at it. This is the question I have to you as a fan. Has the future of the franchise changed dramatically in the last 2 weeks? Or do we still look at them and say, I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know what they're going to do at the deadline. I know Craig Breslow came out and said they're going to add. But until it happens, we don't know what they're going to add. It's not like they've added some sort of pitcher already, and there is indication that they're going to load up and go for a championship. The pitching market sucks. Alex Cora has expressed dissatisfaction with the direction of the franchise, the way they're doing business. So nobody's credibility took a bigger hit in this thing than Cora. And again, let me say what I said at the beginning. I like him. I'm glad he's here. He's a good manager. But when Alex Cora comes out the next time and complains about the roster, are you going to have any sympathy for him? Does he have any right to bitch about the roster now that he is re-upped, knowing what they've been? He doesn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to the roster now. Unless there's something in his contract, and Sam Kennedy indicated in the story today with Chris Cotillo, there's nothing in his contract. Thank you for clearing that up, Chris. So, again, this is the quote I wanted to read to you. This is Sam Kennedy to Chris Cotillo of Mass Live. We created an awkward dynamic when we made the change. And he means the change to Craig Breslow from Chaim Bloom. Meaning the manager stayed, the GM went, so now the manager has more power than the GM. We created an awkward dynamic when we made the change, Kennedy said. We were committed to that. We made it clear to Alex that was our plan. We made that clear to the candidates who we were interviewing how that was our plan. We held to that. I had a strong feeling from the beginning that the working relationship with Brez and AC would be a good one, just given the underlying relationship they had from their playing days and being a part of the Red Sox. Can I stop there for a second? Jimmy, do you remember what Alex Cora said when he was asked about his relationship with Breslow as teammates? Do you recall that soundbite that we played?
I remember him not really having a recollection of it.
He said he didn't really remember playing with Breslow at all. Okay, so again, Sam says he thought the relationship would work based on their relationship as a teammate. As teammates, when Cora was asked about the relationship, he said he had no recollection of it all. Jimmy, we might have that somewhere in the archive.
Oh, I promise you we do.
It may be back at your home. And if it is, forgive me, it's just popped into my head now. So if we have it, great. If not, fine. We'll play it for you if we can find it. Kennedy continues, but we really needed to stay out of it and let those two either develop the type of relationship working together where things are going to work out long-term or not. That's what he said. So now we're what? Less than a year in, and now we're sure it's going to work out long-term? This is the guy Craig Breslow wanted, the guy who was already here? I think the Red Sox have gone out of their way to make it clear in the last couple of weeks that Craig Breslow has power. They want you to believe that. Whether or not you believe it is up to you. I wonder whether this thing was a bag job from the beginning ownership told him, Alex, sit tight. We'll get there. Breslow will get there. He knows we like you. We'll end up in the same place. Cora probably didn't like the idea that he had to wait. Maybe that's why Cora spent so much time telling people that he was out of here at the end of the year. And again, I'm paraphrasing, I'm putting words in his mouth or giving indication that he wouldn't negotiate with the Red Sox until the end of the year. Fine, you don't want to give me the deal now? Well, guess what? I'm going to free agency. Maybe that's what it was. All I'm telling you is something changed. And for all the talk about the contract given to Craig Counsell, Cora didn't come anywhere near it. Not really. As Felger said today, half of the guaranteed money that Craig Counsell got. And on an annual basis, Cora got less when he's a better manager with a better record in a tougher market. Had it been 3 years and $25 million, I could say Cora got more in AAV, so he's now the highest paid manager in the game based on an average annual salary. True. Could have said that. He can't say that now. Can't say it based on the 1 year salary or the deal or the value of the entire deal. Cannot do it. And again, with regard to the chemistry he had with Bledsoe or the prior with Breslow, with the prior relationship they had as teammates, Jimmy found the cut. This is what Cora said when they hired Breslow.
And I know it was a brief time, but what do you remember about being his teammate? Not much. Yeah, not much. All a blur. Not much, to be honest. Yeah, it was a blur in 07 especially.
Okay, so does that sound like two guys who had built a relationship?
Not much. Yeah, not much.
Come on. Seriously. This thing is a ruse. It is a complete charade. What I don't know is how deep it runs, what the ultimate driving factor was, but this thing was a charade. Alex Cora played along, or at least was maybe, and again, he might have been pissed off, so that's why he took the approach he did. And ownership went along with it because they felt like, okay, we understand why he's pissed, but we think this is going to work out because we're going to make it work out because we're going to tell Breslow what to do. So I just don't buy all the family stuff, and that doesn't mean I think Alex Cora hates his family. I'm sure Alex Cora loves his family. I don't doubt any of that for a second. But come on. All of a sudden, I'm not going to talk with them. I will not negotiate. I'm signed. Ruse. Complete charade, if you ask me. We'll get to more of the comments from Sam Kennedy. Also, the roster. And there was a development in Major League Baseball today that relates directly to something Craig Breslow said yesterday to Alex Spiro of the Boston Globe. We'll get to all of that during the baseball hour tonight.
it all during the season. Why did that change? I mean, sometimes I could put an act for you guys, right? And kind of like, and sometimes I was actually telling the truth. We've been talking for a few weeks here. The relationship between me and Craig has grown the last 6-7 months. Obviously, the relationship I have with ownership and Sam is very important. And at the end of the day, like I said, there's probably a lot of places that are going to open up at the end of the season. And some of them are maybe very inconvenient for the family. I promise you, this decision was more based on the comfort of my family than actually, my professional career. I think life had taught me throughout the years that comfort and taking care of the family is more important, and I think that was one of the reasons we decided to engage, and finally we got it done.
If this was a family decision, look, of course I'm okay with it. Who wouldn't be okay with it? Alex Cora should put his family first. Nobody would argue with that. But if that's true, and he's been frustrated with the roster the last few years, well, then don't complain about the roster anymore. It's one or the other. I mean, I'd like to think that Cora is a competitive guy, and I believe that he is. I just think that he is being either disingenuous, or we're not getting the full story, or this thing was some sort of sham to make Craig Breslow look like he has more power than he does, or whatever. And when I say more power than he does, they ran into this with Chaim Bloom. No one believed that Chaim Bloom really had the power to make decisions. Red Sox officials resent the idea that they forced Alex Cora on Chaim Bloom. They don't like the perception of that because it it helped destroy Bloom's credibility as an executive. And so, and look, there's lots of benefits for the Red Sox to empower, at least make it appear that the head of baseball operations has power. And that is that if something goes wrong, they can blame him. So you know what happened after Bloom got fired? Ownership got blamed. That's what happened. Because they really wanted a puppet in there. And I would tell you again, just quickly, look at with the exception of Alex Cora, who generally is pushed back, who in the organization pushes back anymore? Craig Breslow wasn't pushing back with regard to the way the Red Sox were spending their money and how they were building a team. In fact, he was brought in to do what ownership wanted. There's no pushback. They haven't had pushback in there since Larry Lucchino was there, since Theo Epstein was there, Terry Francona was there, Dave Dombrowski, and we know where they all ended up. So I'm not sure they want pushback. In fact, I know they don't want pushback. And I think as a result, Alex Cora was getting frustrated because he wasn't being heard. So there's more to the story than just Alex Cora and Craig Breslow were getting along and it's working, so he extended them. No way. No way. I am not buying that for a second. Don in New York. Don, go ahead.
Hey, man. Thanks for taking my call. I'm going to approach this from different, what you guys did mention. I don't think the jobs are going to be open for him next season. You look at the Mets, first year, he's doing great. Dodgers, Roberts, he's doing well. They have no pitching on the team. He's kept the team together, doing great. If he's looking at a job, he's looking at a job of maybe Cincinnati, Frisco, White Sox, Tigers. Does he really want to go there for about the same amount of money? I don't think so. I think he's made the right move. I'm glad he's staying in Boston. But I think all your theories about Breslow and really not getting along are true. And we'll find out Tuesday how realistic this team is going to really try for a championship. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Okay, Don, listen, a lot of what you say might be right. Maybe those jobs won't be open. Maybe Alex Cora's agent canvassed the market and got a sense that there's nothing that's going to happen that would lead to the firings of the managers in any of those major markets that you mentioned. And why go work in a crap market for the bad organization and end up in a worse spot? Entirely possible. I think some of those jobs are going to open. And you say, well, look at how those teams are doing right now. In those markets, New York, the Yankees especially, Aaron Boone's on the hot seat. And don't rule out Dave Roberts, whom the Dodgers like because they can control, but don't rule that one out either. With all the money the Dodgers have spent, if they don't win, you don't think that the manager could get fired? I think he's the first guy to go. They will immediately look at the manager. So there would have been jobs out there. Let's see if you were right. I'm willing to bet that at least one of those jobs opens. Danny in a car. Danny, go ahead.
Tony, I mean, we read the tea leaves wrong in regards to, I think, last week and the last couple of years. I've just been pleading with you saying, hey, why not Alex Cora, right? So he signed, he gets a $7.25 million, fantastic. And I go back to what Jimmy said last year, and I said, I thought Bloom was coming back. That's on tape. I thought it was gold. Jimmy thought he was coming back, and then boom, he's gone. We got Breslow in here. The whole Tampa, the last 6 years, what Tampa's done the last 20 years with their farm system, I thought they were moving in the right direction. Even as a Sox fan, at 42 years, going to my first game Monday, Tony, so I'm back, besides Nesson. But the point is, I like how we're building the farm system. These young guys, it's time to uncork one of the top three and get Crochet in Oakland. I'll hang up and listen to your thoughts.
Okay, so Danny, I don't know if they're going to give up one of the top three or not. Maybe they are. We'll see how that shakes out. I'd be impressed if they did. And when I say impressed, I'm not sure it's the right move. I like those kids too. I do. But there are other deals you can make. So they have depth at second base. They have Vaughn Grissom. I keep forgetting his name, Nick York. God, I don't know why. I can't remember. I can never remember that kid's name. I can remember all the other prospects. I can't remember him. I have no idea why. Probably because I saw him in spring training a couple of years ago, Jimmy, and I thought he sucked. He was wholly unimpressive to me, so maybe that's why I just kind of erased him from my memory. I wasn't all that impressed with Nick York. Maybe he had no right to be in big league camp at that time and he just wasn't fully developed. He doesn't look athletic enough to me. I would trade Nick York. So, but again, to get back to the point, I don't want to trade any of those premium prospects either. But they need pitching. And there is some deal to be made on this market with regard to the pitching that can help this team. I don't know what it is, but I know there's a deal to be made. They are going to have to make a trade for a pitcher that can help them both this year and in the future. Somebody who has time on his contract or term on his contract and that they might be able to re-sign. This is where they need to use the money. There were guys available on the free agent market last winter and they whiffed. They missed on it. So now their young guys are coming. If you believe in the farm system, and I'm not telling you should or shouldn't, but I believe in some of these young players. I think some of these guys are going to be pretty good. If you believe in that, then you've got to get the pitching to augment it. That was the biggest problem and mistake that Chaim Bloom made during his tenure. The pitching they had did not develop. He didn't really get a lot more of it. Tanner Houck has developed now that Bloom is gone and that Dave Bush, the pitching coach, is gone. That all changed. Now, this year, the pitching has gotten better in some cases. Cutter Crawford as well. Bayo's gone the other way. But they're still not there, and the young guys are coming, and they're getting development in the organization. It feels like they're headed in the right direction. Somewhere in here, in the next week, they got to pick up a pitcher, and if they don't, they're going to have to make the trade in the offseason. And this brings to mind a guy that they could have acquired last offseason. They didn't. And in retrospect, the price would have been entirely affordable. And guess what? Pitching for someone else, he threw a no-hitter today. We'll tell you who that is when we come back. Ryan Beaton has your headlines on the Baseball Hour.
Sports Hub.
Cease throws a no-hitter, the second no-hitter in Padres history. There'll be a sea of San Diegans celebrating back home today.
That's right, Dylan Cease, right-hander with the San Diego Padres, threw a no-hitter today. Jimmy, what was it, 114 pitches or something like that?
114 pitches. His season high this year, 113.
Okay.
He had to fight, in his own words, he had to fight the manager to let him stay in after 7 innings.
It's amazing to me that 114 pitches now qualifies as some sort of unreasonable number.
I mean, what a miracle he got to finish it.
Seriously, 114. In a 9-inning game, that's pretty efficient. I mean, again, do the math. You throw 15 an inning, that's 135 over 9 innings. He threw 114. That's, 20 pitches fewer. So he's throwing 13 pitches an inning or whatever the number is. Whatever math, again, I can't think of it at the top of my head for crying out loud. 9 times 13 is what? 90 plus 27 is 117. Okay, so it comes out there. So that's not an outrageous number. His arm's not going to fall off. He's not going to be any more susceptible to an injury. It's ridiculous. Anyway, the real story here is that Dylan Cease was traded to the Padres from the Chicago White Sox, and the Red Sox had expressed interest in Dylan Cease. They wanted Brian Bayo back. Brian Bayo has since gone belly up. Now, I'm not telling you Brian Bayo's career is over, but you tell me in retrospect. Back then, nobody wanted to trade Bayo. Now, people look at it and say, I mean, today's a good day to ask it. Again, we make snapshot evaluations. It's what we do. And today's snapshot would be Brian Bayo's had kind of a disappointing year. Meanwhile, Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck have gotten better. And at the same time, Dylan Cease just threw a no-hitter. Which brings me to a comment that Craig Breslow made to Alex Spear in today's story in the Boston Globe. And again, the essence of the story is Breslow again repeating that he has every intention of adding to this team at the trading deadline. That is the essence of the story. And in the process, there is this passage that I would like to read to you. Because this is a bit of a crusade of mine. I have felt this way since I began covering baseball a long time ago, and it became terribly apparent. It is not anything that I am revealing that is revelatory in nature that leads you to say, oh, have never heard that before, but it's really, really, really important. And that is how you evaluate your own organization. It's the most important job of any GM. So the passage includes a quote from Craig Breslow, but Alex Spear begins by writing, even as Breslow looks to upgrade, he is mindful of trying to build a perennial contender fueled by players who are currently in the big leagues with several years of team control remaining, as well as an upper echelon of standout prospects. You need both. I've always believed this too. You need a mix of old guys and young guys to get through the season. The old guys know that a 4-game losing streak's not the end of the world. The young guys don't. You need both. You need to play like your hair's on fire, like Jaron Duran does. And you also need an old guy who can sort of calm everybody down and say, relax. It's just a losing streak. We play a long season, like Rafael Devers. I go back to Alex Spear now. That said, Breslow expressed optimism that the Red Sox have the prospect depth to make deals while preserving the players who are seen as future long-term regulars. You got that? They have the prospect depth to make trades and at the same time keep the prospects who should be regulars for the organization over the longer term. Quote, stating the obvious, there are only 8 position players who can take the field at any given time, Breslow said. What that means is that we're going to have a lot of really good players who we have to figure out if they're going to be really good players for us or whether they're going to be good players in the big leagues and give us an opportunity to turn that depth into opportunities in areas where we have a little more scarcity. Translation, figure out the fake prospects from the real prospects, especially in areas where we have overlap, and then trade the fake prospects for something we don't have. So, Exhibit A, Nick York at second base. They just traded for Vaughn Grissom in the Chris Sale deal last offseason, who plays second base. How many second basemen can you put on the field at one time, Jimmy Stewart?
That would be one, Tony.
One. So now you have 2 second basemen in the system.
Well, you also have Emmanuel Valdez.
Okay, and as Jared,
so that's 3 second basemen.
And as Jared Carabas pointed out last night, if I were to look it up, I'd remember the kid's name. So you're going to have to give me a second here. But the Red Sox now have a kid at Double-A who's also a second baseman, Christian Campbell, whose stock is also soaring.
Oh, that would make 4 second basemen, Mazz.
Okay, now it says here Campbell also plays some outfield, so maybe that makes him a little more versatile. But you get the idea.
So what does that mean as far as second base goes, Tony?
Christian Campbell, Vaughn Grissom, Nick York, Valdez, if you want to throw him in there, although, I personally think he sucks at second base, so he might be more of a DH. But I'll tell you what, let's stick to 3. Christian Campbell, Vaughn Grissom, Nick York.
That's too many.
Well put. Do you have to keep them all? Can't you trade 2 of those guys? And if you tell me that you want to use Campbell in center field or in the outfield, then is Rafaela available? Can you trade him? You have guys you can move. Guys that would have value to other organizations. Nick York is hitting .325 in AAA right now. Let's see if I can find that number in here, because I'm sure he's on the Sox prospect list too. He's hitting .313 in AAA right now. He was Chaim Bloom's first selection in the draft. So again, you want to give Chaim Bloom some of the credit for that deal? No problem. I'm okay that with prospects who are fake prospects, because you can use them in trades. No problem. Can you trade one? But you gotta evaluate them correctly. You gotta keep the right one and trade the other one. Now, let me give you a quick example where the Red Sox screwed that up. Years ago, they had 2 third basemen in the system. They liked them both. One was Scott Cooper. The other was Jeff Bagwell, who's now in the Hall of Fame. Which one did they keep, Jimmy?
That would be 2-time All-Star Scott Cooper.
Really? Who made the All-Star team because, frankly, the Red Sox had to have a representative, and he wasn't an All-Star caliber player.
I just give you facts.
I know. I'm just saying. But the ultimate point is that they kept the wrong guy. Okay? That was a bad evaluation. Now, story legend has it, they tried to trade Cooper for reliever Larry Anderson. The Astros didn't want him. They wanted Bagwell, and the Red Sox caved.
Can I give you an example where it worked?
Sure.
Yoan Moncada and Rafael Devers played the same position coming up, right? And Dave Dombrowski made the correct evaluation for the Red Sox to keep Devers and trade Moncada.
Excellent point, Jimmy. So again, you have all types of cases like this where you have to pick. You're keeping one guy, you're trading the other. We're going to keep one, move the other. You got to get those right. If you get those wrong, you're doubly screwed because you've now effectively traded 2 prospects because the one you kept can't play. And if the guy who came back can't play, then you have a bust of a deal. Dean in Shrewsbury. Dean, what do you got?
I hate that any news that comes out about the Red Sox, we have to be wondering if they're telling the truth or just giving us a bunch of baloney. This is like the controversy around the Cora signing and it not really making sense that he just flips last second is really annoying, and there doesn't seem to be any clarity around that except for what they say about his family. But it's just annoying. You have to question everything with them because they've lied so much you can't trust them on like just the basic straightforward signings.
So Dean, I agree with you. And I've said this before. Now, on an occasion like this, I understand the logic. Okay? And the logic is that they don't want to make Craig Breslow look bad. They don't want to make Craig Breslow look like a puppet, even though they basically did that in the final week of the first half. Do you remember what happened? Sam Kennedy went on the pregame show and said, let me back up. Craig Breslow did 2 interviews basically in the final week of the first half. 2 where he was non-committal about what the Red Sox were going to do at the deadline and would say only we will pick a lane at some point. That's it. Wouldn't commit to buying. And that led people like me and Felger and you to say, well, they don't want to buy. They don't believe in the team. They didn't spend money in the offseason. They didn't build the roster in the offseason. Why are they going to do it now? They don't really believe. They're not ready to build yet. So what else would we believe? We judge them by their actions. So now Breslow goes out there and says non-committal. And again, we came to the conclusions we came to. A couple of days after Breslow had his second interview, Sam Kennedy comes out and goes, oh, no, we're going to add.
Without question.
We are going to add. As Jimmy said, without question.
Without question.
So now, again, for a team that is trying to make the general manager or make it look like the general manager is the one who decided to keep Alex Cora, Kennedy went out there and said something that Breslow did not, which makes it look like Breslow has no say in the matter, that Kennedy and ownership decided it. Okay? So then, a few days after that, Breslow goes on a broadcast and now says the same thing that Kennedy said. So the team realized their mistake. They sent Breslow out. Now they're trying to build up Breslow's credibility with the fan base, with you. I have an understanding of how it works internally in any organization because I lived it. Most of you don't, and I don't expect you to believe everything I tell you. So it becomes my word against what comes out of Fenway Park, and that's okay. You should consider both. But you understand the dilemma. On the one hand, Sam comes out and kind of cuts Craig Breslow's legs off. Then on the other, they want to tell you that Craig Breslow decided that he wanted Alex Cora back and they gave him the money to do it. I would tell you the Red Sox wanted Alex Cora back before they brought Craig Breslow in. And that became apparent to Craig Breslow. Now, again, that's a small one. So when Dean and Shrewsbury says the Red Sox, you have to question everything they say because they lie to you, this is the part that I come back. Like, again, I understand why they did it in this case. They're trying to protect Breslow. I get it. And that's the right thing to do for your employee. But I would also tell you that when it came to time to explain from an ownership standpoint and an upper management standpoint, Sam Kennedy, John Henry, beyond, to explain to you what they were going to do over this 3 or 4 year period, they didn't tell you the truth. What they wanted you to believe is that they would be competitive, championship caliber, while they were rebuilding the organization. When it went bad, they didn't have the balls to tell you, look, we're trying to do both. It didn't work. We don't think we're championship caliber yet. When we get to that point, we will get back to spending the way we spent before. They really didn't do that until this spring when Sam Kennedy insinuated it for the first time. That's when they get themselves into trouble in my mind. Okay, you want to protect Craig Breslow, I get it. But don't try to tell your fans you're selling them filet mignon when you're selling them chicken crap. Because they're not dumb. We'll wrap it up when we come back. I think Joe Murray's got you for the balance of the night tonight. I should mention that now. He'll be coming up in a couple of minutes. I do want to read another comment from Sam Kennedy. This is in the story by Chris Cotillo on Mass Live. I'm sorry. I call bull crap on the Alex Cora thing. I do. Again, I'm happy they kept him. I like Alex Cora. He's a good manager. I believe that he loves his family. I believe all of those things. So he's been lying through his face or through his teeth to people about, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to do this, and to the point where even people, the vibe and message coming from Cora is that he was out of here at the end of the year. Anybody who's been around Cora has felt that way. Anybody. So don't take it from me. Take it from the people who've been around the team. They felt that way. They all felt that way. This thing flips all of a sudden overnight. And it's not like the team all of a sudden is ready to win the World Series. They're having a better year. But at the moment, they're still out of the playoffs. They still have lots of problems. They're not anywhere close to being the championship caliber organization yet that they were for many years from, call it, 2003 through 2018. And they had some last place finishes in there too. But I think they've sunk to another level in the last few years. So I just don't believe at face value that, oh, yeah, Alex and Craig, really, they're getting along great, because we played the cut for you earlier. The quote-unquote history between Alex Cora and Craig Breslow. Alex Cora said, yeah, I don't remember much about playing with the guy, frankly. I bet you Cora could have run him over and not known it was him.
And I know it was a brief time, but what do you remember about being his teammate? Not much. Yeah, not much. All a blur. Not much, to be honest. Yeah, it was a blur in 07 especially.
Yep, it was a blur. I barely remember the guy. And with all due respect to Breslow, who I think is bright, clearly, he's kind of a forgettable ball player. Like if someone said to you, most people would never remember Craig Breslow being on the team. So, but quickly, Sam Kennedy said about the commitment to Cora, and there's part of this that I do believe and I think is legit. And it's another reason why the Red Sox were willing to pay Cora. The value of the commitment speaks to what Alex means to us and what he means to the organization. Yes, he's our manager, but he's so much more than that. He rightly has become the face of the franchise in so many ways. Now, he goes on to say some other things about Cora that are complimentary in nature, and I'm not minimizing those. But the face of the franchise thing is real. In a lot of ways, it happened with Francona. And I would tell you, it's also part of the problem with this Red Sox team that they don't have any players that are the face of the franchise. Alex Cora is important for that reason. I'll give you one more. Who speaks to the fan base in a manner that allows the fans to connect with them? That is of quote-unquote management status. The answer is nobody. John Henry doesn't. And again, I've said this in the past too. If I were Henry, I wouldn't talk either. I just don't think he's telegenic. It's not his nature. He's not a dynamic personality. The guy is brilliant. He's a genius. So he's not going to connect with you because, frankly, he's smarter. Sam Kennedy, also an executive that, and I like Sam, but comes off as disingenuous. Larry Lucchino is a bully. That didn't work when he was doing it either. So the manager is really important in that way. He is the one person in the organization from a management type of level that speaks to the media constantly. And you know why that's valuable to the organization? Not just for PR. It allows the rest of them to hide. And Cora takes the bullets because people like you call and tell me how much of an idiot he is when he doesn't make a pitching change properly or he picked the right guy. And I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you, you go to the manager and blame the manager. In this case, they elected to pay him for it. Joe Murray, I've gone too long, so my apologies.
Never apologize.
Ryan Beaton's got your headlines here. Don't go anywhere. No commercials. Thanks for joining. Joe Murray has you for the balance of the night. We'll catch you tomorrow.